Salvete, viatores, and welcome back to Let's Translate Eutropius's Breviarium Historiae Romanae ab Orbe Condita. Last time, we read about what happened during the reign of Romulus after he founded Rome. He basically kidnapped ladies and fought a bunch of people. This time, we start right off with Postea Numa Pompilius Rex Creatus est. Postea is an adverb meaning afterwards. We've got Numa Pompilius, who is our subject. Rex is what's called a predicative nominative. I believe we have seen that before. It's basically like a linking verb has two subjects, basically. And it's usually used for when the subject is sort of transforming. So, like, Numa Pompilius is becoming king, which is what Rex means. It's weird. It's weird. But just with certain verbs, you'll have two nouns in the nominative, both acting as a sort of subject. But then creatus est even, because creatus is a perfect passive participle. So Numa Pompilius was made Rex king. I would say chosen to be king, but because Creatus can be chosen, but I'm not sure. I mean, I think Numa Pompilius was technically chosen for. He's traditionally said it's being chosen for king by the senators, but I'm just going to say made king. Just not to add too many words into that aren't deliberate, that aren't explicitly in the Latin. And then we come to qui, relative clause. Bellum quidem nullum gessit. Ends right there. Just make that a little better. There we are. So qui bellum quidem nullum gessit. So qui, who, referring to Numa Pompilius. Quidem, in fact, it's being emphatic, like, oh, this is something to really pay attention to. Gessit, waged, or like, did no war. So Numa Pompilius, who, in fact, waged no war. Just, the quidem is there to be like, oh, this is something that's really unusual. Because for a Roman leader to wage absolutely no war, it truly is. I kind of wanted to say it truly is an event, but I mean, what is there happening if there's no war? Well, actually, in fact, sed non minus civitati quam Romulus profuit. So, profuit is our verb. Also, it didn't actually mark that up. Bad, very bad. Oh, there. Okay. So, profuit is our verb in this next clause. So, but he did not. Profuit is like doing good or benefiting. Less. So he did not do less and do in a positive way specifically. Civitati is in the dative, so it's the indirect object for the city. Quam Romulus. Quam usually denotes like a comparison. So than Romulus. And I suppose this might be a predicative nominative as well, but I'm still hazy on exactly where you can use. I'm still a bit hazy on predicative nominative because you don't focus on that as much in school. But this whole thing is, but he did not do less for the city than Romulus. Despite him not fighting anyway, so that's cool. And this whole sentence afterwards as in after Romulus just disappeared, Numa Pompilius was made king, who, in fact, waged no war, but did not do less for the city than Romulus. Nam, for, et leges Romanis morosque constituit. So constituit is our verb. Et and que, the suffix que, since they both mean and, when you have that kind of thing, in fact, we've seen this before in like the very first relative clause in the first chapter with neque and then a later neque, which made it, instead of and not, neither nor. It's a similar thing here, except instead of and, it is both and. So, for, we also saw constituit with Romulus for founding the city. Here, I think it would be better to translate it as establish. For he established both laws. Well, why am I doing so terribly with the O's today? Both laws and customs for the Romans, who, qui consuetudine proeliorum iam latrones ac semi-barbari putabantur. So putabantur is our verb. We've got our objects in latrones et semi-barbari, ac semi-barbari. You know, I actually don't know exactly why one would use et versus que versus ac, because all these just mean and. I don't know what exactly the difference is for their usage, but either way, consuetudine is in the ablative, and I believe it would be ablative of cause. So, in fact, let's just ignore consuetudine and proeliorum for the moment. So qui, who, now, iam, putabantur, or were considered, since it's imperfect, now were considered bandits and semi-barbarians. So the Romans were, at that point, considered bandits and semi-barbarians. And why? Consuetudine proeliorum. Basically on account of... It's weird translating this, because it's... Consuetudine is like their manner or habit, and then proeliorum is of battles. Like, it's most literally of battles. So, on account of their habit of battles. It's basically trying to say, due to how much they fought. Because, as we read last time, they fought a lot. So I suppose you could translate this to make it better in English, either on account of their habit of fighting, or on account of their habit of war. Neither of those are exactly what the Latin says, but it just makes more sense in English that way. Which, honestly, is kind of similarly to how historical video games have to make sacrifices of historical authenticity for the sake of fun gameplay. Sometimes with translating, you have to sacrifice that the most literal, exactly what the language is saying, in order to make it sound good in English. Or into even just whatever language you're translating into. But anyways, the Romans who, on account of their habit of fighting, now were considered bandits and semi-barbarians. And Anum descripsit in decamenses preus sine aliqua supputatione confusum. So descripsit, we clearly get the word description from this word, but it's more in this sense it's I mean, I guess you could use described. He described a year into 10 months is the basic sense of this. But there's still the rest of the phrase which is trying to more so describe Anum. So he described a year before mixed without any other like supposition, reckoning. It's weird. Like, just apparently just the dating system was terrible and they hadn't really thought about it, I guess. I guess that's what Eutropius is trying to get across. And I can't think of a better word to translate supputatione into. Because the dictionaries that I use are mostly just supposition, reckoning, computation. I've not found a good way to translate this word, because all of those sound very awkward. Maybe without any other thinking, maybe you could do that? He described a year before mixed up without any other thinking, without any other kind of thinking, I suppose, into 10 months. Which, by the way, I think Eutropius is just kind of wrong, or at least he's saying that Numa Pompilius did the year in 10 months is not what other authors say. They usually say into 12 months. They attribute the 12-month calendar to him. Okay, so I didn't take too much of a look at the calendar history, but yeah, 10 months is fine. I think Wikipedia, honestly, is just wrong on that front, because they say, the Wikipedia page on Numa Pompilius says that it's 12 months. But, et infinita Romae sacra ac templa constituit. So, and, he, I'd say founded, or established, or maybe even dedicated here would work, because he dedicated infinita. It's not actually infinite in that sense. It's really just innumerable. Innumerable sacra, just sacred rites, basically, and temples, Romae. So he, yeah, I'd say, like, dedicated innumerable, or I don't know. He set up, he made the sacred things in the temples, and so many of them. And then Romae. Now this is fun, because Romae, it could be dative. So he founded innumerable sacred rites and temples for Rome. Or it could be locative. Now, what's the locative case? Well, the locative case is basically just its own, not as well-known case for just describing place. So here it would be basically just in Rome or at Rome. It's just another way to denote place instead of like using a prepositional phrase or out of a place where. And in fact, with that, so actually, yeah, let's go over the sentence before I say what I was going to say. For he established both laws and customs for the Romans, who, on account of their habit of fighting, now were considered bandits and semi-barbarians. And I should stress that more, and he described a year prior mixed up without any other thinking into 10 months. And he founded innumerable sacred rites and temples in Rome. So he did a lot of things. He did a lot of good things for Rome and the Roman people. But Eutropius doesn't actually mention by name some of these Sacra ac Templa. And I just want to point out 3 of them that I feel are really important for Rome as a whole. Among Numa Pompilius's attributed accomplishments is the dedication of the Temple of Janus, or Janus, in the Roman Forum. The most special thing about this temple is that, during peace, the doors to the temple remained closed, while during war the doors were open. Supposedly, they were only closed a handful of times, the first of those being the entire reign of Numa Pompilius. King Numa also established the position of Pontifex Maximus, the highest-ranking religious official in Rome, along with the College of Pontiffs, the Collegium Pontificum. In fact, the historian Livy says that Numa Pompilius basically established Rome's religion in general, formulating its customs and cults, with the Pontifex Maximus being the leading figure in it all. This also includes the Vestal Virgins, a priestesshood exclusive to women in honor of the goddess of the hearth, Vesta, or Vesta. But wait, I hear you ask, wasn't Rhea Silvia, mother of Romulus, a Vestal Virgin? Eloquently put, and yes, she was. The Vestal Virgins were believed to have originated in Alba Longa, the sort of symbolic birthplace of the Romans as a people, after Aeneas arrived there. Rhea Silvia lived there, and Romulus and Remus would have lived there if they weren't cast out as infants. There are plenty more deeds attributed to Numa Pompilius, but I wanted to point out a few that aren't explicitly mentioned by Eutropius I thought were important to the growth of Roman culture. Oh, hi, Kitty. Hi, Kitty. You silly. You silly billy. Alright, and with that said, let's finish up this last sentence. Morbo decessit quadragesimo tertio imperii anno. So decessit is our verb, and we've got plenty of ablative of time when. That's imperii is in the genitive, modifying anno, and morbo is ablative. I'm not sure which ablative it is. It either means or cause. But, getting ahead of myself. So, decessit, he died. Sadly, because it sounds like he was a pretty great king, especially because he ruled for 43 years. He died in the 43rd year of his reign. Morbo. Morbo is, I mean, it could technically mean like disease or illness, but it's basically there to just say by natural causes. It was a natural death rather than a violent one. He wasn't murdered or killed in battle. So there we go. Not as much to say about Numa Pompilius than Romulus, even though... Hold on. Yeah, even though Numa Pompilius had a longer reign. That's odd. Though I guess Romulus gets special treatment because he founded Rome. But, either way, I will end this off with a reading of the Latin and then a reading of the English. Postea Numa Pompilius rex creatus est, qui bellum quidem nullum gessit, sed non minus civitati quam Romulus profuit. Nam et leges Romanis moresque constituit, qui consuetudine proeliorum iam latrones ac semibarbari putabantur, et annum descripsit in decem menses priusine aliqua supputatione confusum, et infinita Romae sacra ac templa constituit. Morbo tacessit quadragesimo et tertio peri anno. Afterwards, Numa Pompilius was made king, who in fact waged no war, but did not do less for the city than Romulus. For he established both laws and customs for the Romans, who, due to their habit of fighting, were now considered bandits and semi-barbarians. He also described a year into 10 months, having prior been mixed up without any other thinking, and founded innumerable sacred rites and temples in Rome. He died of natural causes in the 43rd year of his reign. Until next time, we will read 2 shorter chapters, both of them about kings fighting wars, one more offensive, the other more defensive. Valete, Veatores.